Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm Karen Buechs, your host and producer of this show, Talk of the Town. And it is the Talk of the Town because I have some great guests on who are all affiliated with the town, and you learn new things, and at times I learn new things. So I want you to welcome someone I admire and respect very much, tonight's guest. By the way, the show is an hour tonight. Tonight's guest, Derek Brindisi, our Plymouth town manager.
Hi, Karen. Good to be back.
Good to be back after town meeting, and we will get to town meeting.
Yeah, a lot happened.
I have to say this, though. You don't have to answer me. But I watch the selectmen's meeting every Tuesday night, God help me. And last night, what did it go to, 10:30?
I think we got out about 10:30, started at 6 p.m.
Yeah. And it went round and round in circles as far as viewers, myself, felt. I felt bad for some of for all the presenters, to tell you the truth. Here they are breaking their neck for the town, and they got put down royally. And we will get into some of it. But you got no direction. You have absolutely no direction. This is my opinion. I know they were complaining nothing was put forward in regards to Memorial Hall. Yet, how can you put something together when you have no direction? Certain things have to happen first.
Right. And
they have a million ideas, and some of them were absolutely stupid. That is the Hall of the People. It should always stay in the hands of, give me the word.
Residents, citizens?
No, residents, citizens, yes, but recreation.
Sure, yeah, recreation is a big part of what they do at Memorial Hall.
Right. And we love our Phil. We love all the venues that go in there.
Sure.
And I know one of the selectmen isn't fond of wrestling, but a lot of people are. It's not my thing, but I happen to know a lot of people are.
Right.
You should have in there anything except lewdness that pays their way, because this town could make a lot of money.
Right.
Weddings, you do the upstairs, a commercial kitchen.
Yep.
I mean, how do you feel about it, Derek?
Well, I think, Karen, I think the last time I was on your show, we probably talked a little bit about our proposal to the Community Preservation Committee, which you serve on, and I know you were a supporter of our proposal.
Yes.
You and Betty Cavaco. But, we made a proposal of $22 million this past summer to restore Memorial Hall, to bring it back to its former glory. But I would say, as important, make it a 21st century venue so that we can host all types of entertainment. I think right now, given the current conditions of the building, we're limited as to the types of entertainment that we can recruit at the building. So 50% of the shows that are being held at Memorial Hall are Cage Titans because they're popular. There are a lot of people that come out to those. We bring in a lot of revenue, but I know that there are other opportunities that are out there that we love to pursue. But it starts with the building. The building, and I reported last night at the Select Board, that the building has really been neglected for the better part of a generation.
And you're the only town manager that has taken it by the horns. I'm telling you right now, it was suggested many times before, but nothing was done.
Well, and the reason for that, though, Karen, is because, when I returned as the town manager in 22, although I was in Upton as their town manager, I still followed the business of Plymouth because it was always my dream job to come back here. And I would read the Old Colony Memorial from Central Massachusetts, and I saw what was happening with the fire stations and how they were neglected for decades and decades. And there were fire stations that were being closed, like the old Station 7. And so when I returned, I learned from those lessons. I said, I'm not going to neglect buildings on my watch. I am going to use the the poor decisions of the past and use those to my advantage. And Memorial Hall was one of those buildings that when I took over, I met with Ann Slesser, who's our recreation director, Joel Goldberg, who's our manager of Memorial Hall. And I said, hey, tell me about Memorial Hall. And they told me the stories, how it's in disrepair. Each and every year, they're trying to convince the previous town manager that we need to do something with this building. And for what I was told, it kind of fell on deaf ears. So back in the summer of 24, so over a year ago, I went to the select board and I said, listen, we have to do something about this building. And to their credit, they appropriated about $150,000 in ARPA funds so we could start hiring an engineering firm to look at the building.
Yeah.
We completed that process about May of 25, and immediately after that, we brought this information to the select board, we brought it to the Community Preservation Committee and said, listen, if we want to bring this back, there's 4 phases, we want to do the first 2 phases right away, and that was going to cost about $22 million. And so, as you know, that was defeated. CPC didn't, well, the majority of the CPC members didn't support it, but that didn't mean that the problems went away.
Right.
Back in 2011, there was a study that was completed, and it talked about all the water infiltration problems.
Yeah.
So think about this. In 2011, the town identified water infiltration penetrating the side of the building, coming through the foundation of the building, coming through the roof, and they did nothing. And then in 2016, someone said, let's go to town meeting, ask for $86,000 to do some of the repairs. In town meeting, to their credit, supported the request. In 2016 to 2025, that $86,000 was never spent. So for 15 years, the building has been neglected. Water's been pouring inside the building, and we all know what water can do to the integrity of a building. So once CPC didn't support the $22 million request, I then thought, well, we need to make a decision, because Jason Silva, the Commissioner of Buildings, had said on record that night, I think you may remember, that the building will be closed. I don't know when it's going to be closed, but given its current state, at some point, him as a building commissioner and Chief Neil Foley as a fire chief will have to get their heads together and say this building is now unsafe. So we don't want that to happen. No. We want to make sure that the building at least stays open, and that was my presentation last night.
Yes, and they didn't think it was enough, and I came forward with some ideas, and I know it was painful. And what did they want to study from residents?
So they wanted a few things. I guess the first thing they said that the consensus was that they don't think it's a wise decision to invest a lot of money into this building when we don't know what the final use will be of the building. And so I serve as a board member on the Economic Development Foundation, and I reported last night that the foundation has agreed to assist the town in hiring a consultant to study the future of this building. And that means visiting other cities and towns who have similar types of venues. Like I myself and Steve Cole and others have gone to the city of Portsmouth. We've already met with them to learn about their business model and what they've done to preserve their building. And so the foundation is going to help us think about the future of the building. So we talked about that last night. But again, that's going to take at least 6 months. The next time I think we can realistically go to town meeting to ask for a sum of money will be a year from now. So I would say the fall of 2026 at the earliest. So the question is, what are we going to do from the fall of 25 to the fall of 26? And I presented 2 different options for the board to consider. One is truly a Band-Aid approach. It's like, listen, we know water's coming in through the east wall. We know water's coming in through the north wall. We know water is coming through the foundation. And so if we want to stop just the water penetration, just that alone is a $750,000 proposition. If we want to take it to the next level, stop the water penetration, change all the windows, repair the HVAC, which is a problem, repair the green room, which is an embarrassment, all of that included, plus some other upgrades, is about a $10 million proposition. So it was my goal last night to give the board three options. We can do nothing and risk the closure of the building in the foreseeable future. We could do the quintessential Band-Aid approach and appropriate $750,000 to just stop further intrusion, or go to not quite the $22 million request, but the $10 million request, which is really the big priorities. Let's repair the envelope of the building. Let's fix the HVAC, and we have some safety issues that we want to address, like the fire alarm, and let's do all that. But that's a $10 million. The HVAC alone is over $5 million.
And then somebody wanted to tear it down.
So that is certainly, I think, one of the options that we will come back to the select board and say, listen, if you follow this option, we could invest the $22 million, and this is what the outcome will be. We could follow the other option of selling it to a private equity firm and letting some private developer figure out the future of this building.
Oy.
Or we could tear the entire structure down and then rebuild new. So those, to me, and there's probably a fourth option in there, but those really are the three main options. And the board, part of that is like, we need a business plan. We need to know that this building, if we were to invest these dollars, will be self-sustainable for the future. So we don't have to come back in 10, 15 years from now and ask for more money to invest into a capital improvement program. And I think part of it, what's unfortunate, is that the Community Preservation Committee has written some sizable checks to nonprofit organizations and private organizations with CPC taxpayer dollars.
That's what I said.
And look at the Pilgrim Hall. They needed the entire roof to be renovated. This is a nonprofit organization that could have socked away money for their own roof, but instead they went to the taxpayers and asked the taxpayers to fund their roof. And so I guess the question is, when do we start investing these dollars into town-owned facilities and think about them, the town-owned facilities, before some of these other organizations that have the ability to do fundraising campaigns, write grants in order to fix their own infrastructure.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, it's concerning, because I feel like the town facilities are taking a back seat to these other organizations.
Right. And this is important. Memorial Hall has serviced the town, the town's people, the children of the town, also our veterans.
That's right.
We can't lose that. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to make a showcase of one entity and let the other things go. People want that to be an entertainment center. You can have weddings upstairs if you do it properly. A lot of money could be brought into the town. I'm not a fan of piecemeal, but I think you've got to take your best option and guide those selectmen to choose the right thing.
Having gone to the city of Portsmouth in New Hampshire, I know that if we invest the money, although I get it's a lot of money, but if we invest the money, Memorial Hall is going to be the #1 destination to downtown Plymouth. I know that because I've seen with my own eyes how successful, well-operated, well-managed buildings can function in other communities. And there's not a lot between Boston and the Cape. We're right in the middle there, so we can draw from the folks to the north of Plymouth. We can draw from folks right over the bridge. We have a really large catchment area that we can really make this building a success. And I have to say, the local businesses will say that their revenues, I believe, almost double when there's a show downtown.
Absolutely.
But they got to be part of the solution.
Absolutely. Right. We go out to dinner.
Yep.
Or we'll take a walk downtown, go for hors d'oeuvres.
Sure.
Something, and then go, And it should be open to every venue that can pay for it, that that is entertaining. And you know the people what they want. They're very loyal when they go. And when I drive by and I see the lines,
Right.
you know, and people walking up the streets to merge at Memorial Hall, and that makes me feel good.
Well, it creates a vibrant downtown. Joe Goldberg, who manages the Memorial Hall,
He does a great
has done an
job.
amazing job since COVID. He's
Yeah.
done an amazing job. I mean, even something as simple as metal detection and increasing our level of security, given this day and age. He just implemented that this past summer. So there's a lot of great opportunities, and I agree. I mean, this is also a place for our veterans. So we need to ensure that the veterans have a place. You know, you look at like that. There's this notion out there that Memorial Hall, do we want to invest the money? We just had the conversation about the training green and not wanting to invest all the money into the training green.
Yeah.
And it's like, geez, like our veterans don't have a lot of places to be honored. And the training green took a $220,000 reduction. You know, there's not as much support out there for Memorial Hall. So, you know, I think that's the other piece of all this, that, you know, putting aside the finances of these areas, I mean, when does it stop? Like our veterans need a place too.
When you say there's not a lot of support for Memorial Hall, you might be talking about town meeting, but the people on the street want Memorial Hall, and they don't want to see it go by. Somebody told me their grandson just played a game there. It's very important to people. They grew up with this.
Right. Memorial Hall is more than just entertainment, as you pointed out. You mentioned right out of the gate, Karen, that recreation. We don't have a recreation center. We don't have a community center here in town. And so Memorial Hall has become our civic center, right? So it's where we go and we see the Philharmonic play. It's where we go and we watch, you know, a comedian entertain us. But it's also a place where during the winter months, we have lots of recreation activities, and not just for kids. You know, they play pickleball on Monday nights down there, and that's for older adults. So
you even had a psychic come in, very popular psychic.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's so much that Memorial Hall has to offer, and the people in Portsmouth told me, do not get rid of your recreation component, because having a diverse portfolio for a venue that big is really important to its success.
Absolutely, I agree. And I think that if it gets out of the hands of recreation, you're going to hear screams. People are not going to like it.
You're right, because there's no alternative. So if you say no recreation Memorial Hall, you're saying no more pickleball, no more basketball, you know, no more arts and crafts for the kids, you know, on a cold winter night and during, you know, February vacation. So it truly is a place for all ages, and so to me, we need to make a decision. You know, my job isn't to influence decisions. My job is to put all the cards on the table to those town meeting members that take a vote, the select board members who take a vote, finance committee, CPC. All of these bodies, you know, will have something to say about the future of Memorial Hall. But it's my job to make a recommendation and give them the information that they all need to make good decisions.
Right. Boggles my mind. We have a caller.
Okay.
Hello, you're on Talk of the Town.
Good evening, Karen. Good evening, Derek.
Oh,
Derek,
hello.
I have to say that you're absolutely right.
Oh.
I could not believe the meeting last night and some of the ridiculous statements that were made, like, let's raise the price of tickets from 1 to 5. You're defeating your whole purpose of making it affordable and drawing people in. Also, not being willing to, you know, make the building safe. And it's not safe now, not with the water coming in, not with the electrical water running down the hallways. I can't understand why people do not want to do, you know, Memorial Hall. If you look at Lowell has a center up there, and they have everything the Memorial Hall is doing.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. It's not just a a venue for entertainment. It's also it's for the resident. It's for the kids. Annie Slusher does. God help that woman. I don't know how she needs a lot of help because she does so much. I don't know how she does it, and I just can't understand, why there's no support from the board. And I have to tell you, last night's meeting was. I left at 10 o'clock. I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
I said, some of the selectmen, they repeat themselves 5, 6, 7 times with the same thing. I think he's running for election again, but I don't know why. He just got elected. But it's crazy. And I'm involved somewhat with tourism, so I know how important it is to keep our downtown, fluent and thriving. Because if not, it'll be like it was when I moved here back in 1978. It'll be a ghost town.
Yeah.
And this town can't afford that. We don't want that.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the things that were covered last night. And the other thing about the chip sale. I moved here in 1978, and my roads haven't been touched in 1978, since 1978. Wow. I'm not complaining because I know budgetary things have been tough. But like Mr. Coyle said last night, if they don't do something, 5, 6 years from now, they're going to have to end up tearing up that whole road. Or you're going to be getting a lot of phone calls every day complaining about the conditions of the roads. So chip sealing, sure, it might not be perfect. It might upset a few people. But what is best for the community? And people are always bitching about their taxes and taxes going up. And, chip sealing is a way to maintain our roads in a safer condition for less money. So, there's a lot of things going on, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. And I support you in what you did last night. I know what your intent was to inform the board of the importance of Memorial Hall, and they want a business plan. What more better business plan can they have right now? You got Joe Goldberg, who's got $500,000 in a reserve account.
Great guy.
That's one hell of a business plan.
Right.
So I don't understand where they're coming from, and I don't know, and I don't know how you do it. I really don't. And you got great staff. I saw them there last night.
Yeah, the staff is
I
great.
saw Annie and Bill Coyle and James Downey, and your staff is unbelievable. And they were there to answer questions, but they just didn't want to. They didn't want to hear the answers. So I think that's why they never asked that many questions from your staff. And I don't know how you stood up there all night. It was crazy. But
Steve.
Good luck to you. So I'll let you guys go.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you,
Steve.
I'm not lumping all the selectmen into that. I mean, David was very quiet. Miss Iaquinto had good things to say. I like her approach. And Dickie, always wonderful. They don't talk to hear themselves talk.
Right.
They say it, and it's over. Please, we don't have to be bludgeoned to death. But to get on the chip seal, I felt bad for your DPW director. He was absolutely abused.
Yeah, so that was unfortunate that, he went under, I would say, under some crossfire. And he was requested to present the town's pavement management program, which includes various strategies for us to repave our roads. And one is what they call this full depth reclamation, where as Steve Leiden pointed out, costs so much money. It costs $1.1 million to redo 1 mile of road, because they have to rip up the entire road. They have to get down to the base and basically rebuild it from the sand up.
Yeah.
There's another one. It's when the roads aren't as bad. It's called a mill and overlay, which I think is about $400,000-$500,000 for 1 mile. And then the chip seal, which is a controversial one, is about $125,000-$150,000 for a 1 mile. And Bill Coyle is our DPW director, and we are so lucky to have Bill Coyle as our DPW director. And his staff is amazing too. And he would, Bill came from other DPWs around the state, and one thing he said to me when he got here, he said, this DPW has great staff. He said our engineering, he came from bigger communities. He said our engineering staff he's a second to none. He says they're amazing. The highway manager, we have really good staff, and so I think we're very fortunate, and that people that live in this community should be really fortunate.
They were trained beautifully.
Yeah, really fortunate that we have such a great DPW. And Bill's job last night was only to present the facts. Myself, Bill, fire chief, police chief, we don't make policy. It's our job to provide information, provide advice when we're asked for advice, and allow the elected officials to make the final decision. And that's what last night's conversation was supposed to be about. Here are the three options. We know there are complaints around rubber chip seal, but here are some things we can do to maybe mitigate those complaints. And what people don't realize is that so last year we did 15 miles of road for rubber chip seal.
That's a lot.
This past summer we did over 30 miles of roads. So since I have been here, and Bill Coyle came about a year after I got here, I would say the DPW has done almost 30% of all of our roads have been repaved. And that is most because of the rubber chip seal program. Bill said last night, if we take away the rubber chip seal program, he said that it would take probably 50 to 70 years to get through every road. Meaning there are some people who will never see their road repaved in their lifetime.
Right.
And so in some neighborhoods it's not very popular, but we have 65,000 people that live in this community, and we probably had 20 complaints about the rubber chip seal program. I actually think if you did the percentage of complaints, it's probably less than 1%.
Yeah.
Right? So we're going to make policy decisions because, a couple dozen people are upset. We can't operate that way because the hundreds and thousands of people that are not upset, they're the quiet majority. And you just don't hear from them.
I just never understand when the professional stands before you, like the police chief, and he says how it is, what's going on. He explains it in detail. And one of the selectmen will say, well, I don't feel that way. I don't go along with that, and goes into this long diatribe. What are you paying these people for? They are the professionals.
They really are. They really are. These are experts in the field.
Experts.
That are doing this day in and day out, which is why I said it's our job, whether you're the fire chief, police chief, DPW director, myself, to provide information. It's like when Lynn Barrett, who's our finance director, who's been doing it for almost 17 years now, who's well respected in this community, when she goes to the podium and talks about the fiscal situation we're in, good and bad, like most folks should listen because she's been doing it for a long time. There's nobody who knows the budget and the financial condition better than her. So who are we to say you're wrong, Lynn? Because she does it every day. Like she sees the numbers, she can monitor, what's happening at a federal and a state level. But I do think in some situations we have individuals in the community that think that they know more than our experts.
Yeah, or somebody will say, they're on the take. I'd like them to prove something like that. I'm sick of seeing it.
It's never happened.
It doesn't happen. Oh, it might have happened 50, 60 years ago, and I don't even know that. But it does not happen today. None of you want to go to jail.
Right. I can't name a town manager or a police chief or a finance director who's been indicted in the last 10 years. I can name elected officials who have, but not any like town managers.
Right.
So, this whole stuff about, there's no transparency. Local government is the most transparent business, in my opinion, in the entire country.
Yeah.
We are required to, any document we own, we are required to furnish it if we're asked to furnish it.
Yeah.
Emails, you want to see their email, you just have to ask for them. We are required to give them up. Even our state legislatures doesn't have to jump through some of the hoops that we have to as far as providing information. So, if you work in private corporation all that stuff is private. You don't have to furnish any of that information back to the public. So there's no more transparent business, in my opinion, than cities and towns, especially in Massachusetts.
Yeah. Now, we just we just had town meeting. You see where my mind goes? We just had fall town meeting, and it went pretty well. I think they got out about 2:30, 2:20, which is a record breaker, because there's been many times 5, 6 o'clock, but I remember the days when it was 3 days.
Yeah, oh, I bet, yeah.
Yeah. So what did you think of this town meeting?
I think it was an interesting town meeting because there wasn't really anything controversial on the warrant. And because it was an October town meeting, we didn't really have a lot to discuss financially, and we weren't asking to buy equipment like we normally would say at the April town meeting. And so because there was so little on the warrant, there was more debate. It was interesting because, we debated about hiring a labor attorney. There was a debate or discussion about the water division buying a hydro excavator. I mean, it was interesting because we would normally never talk about this. This is money coming from an enterprise account. The DPW director and water superintendent need this truck to do their work. It did pass.
Yeah.
But it was just, to answer your question, though, it was just interesting that we were debating things that normally would be something so benign that we would just, vote it and move on. And so we had some really good discussions around things that I thought were benign. But the one that I thought that I was disappointed in was a CPC article to rehabilitate the training green, which is located on Sandwich Street. And there was a town meeting member who had a motion to amend the main motion and reduce the amount by $220,000. And the argument was that we didn't need irrigation in this park and we didn't need lights in the park.
You absolutely need lights.
You 100% need lights.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy you brought this up because I probably didn't sleep that night because town meeting members were upset with me because they had, there was one town meeting member who said that I had threatened town meeting. And what town meeting doesn't realize is that their votes matter. Like when you take a vote as a town meeting member, we are tracking those votes. And so when you vote and you say, we don't want irrigation in our park, we don't want lights in our park.
Not just for that park.
You're telling me that we don't want lights and irrigation in our parks. So why would we come back in 2 years from now for another park project and have lights and irrigation in there when you just sent a message to the administration that you don't support lights and you don't support irrigation?
They don't think things through.
But they don't realize that their vote matters. And
has ripple effect.
It does because, and it's the same thing with the select board. I say to the select board all the time. Every time I can, I say, listen, I am always paying attention to how you vote because it tells me your position on things. It tells me your philosophy over here. It's telling me the vision that you have for this community. So if you say that you don't support, and I'm making this up, trees downtown, we will never bring a proposal to you for trees, right? So when town meeting says we don't want lights and irrigation, then I will recognize that. And why would I want to get into another debate with you if you don't support lights? And so I was upset that I was being booed, and then
really,
and then two town meeting members said I had threatened town meeting. And I'm like, you don't. If you're saying that, you don't understand how town meeting works.
What disrespect!
Oh yeah, but I mean, this is the world that I live in. That individuals can say whatever they want. When I respond to it, and they don't like what I say, then I am inappropriate or I'm being disrespectful.
Oh my, I didn't know that.
So the argument on the training green was that Olmsted, who designed the park, didn't want lights in the park, because if he did want lights, he would have designed them in the park. Totally false. In fact, I had pictures that were given to me by the owner of Fast Eddie's, the barbershop across the street. Dan, good guy, sent me pictures of, guess what? Lights in the park.
Yeah.
Lights were in the park. And so...
It's coming back.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because it deserves to... And again, this is what I was saying earlier. Like, this park is really, I think, important to our veterans.
One of the little jewels that we have in town, and people, drive by. They're so used to driving by, they don't really pause and look and understand what that park is all about. As a matter of fact, I've seen the Minutemen camp there at certain times to celebrate certain things in their tents, dressed in their uniforms, and it's very sacred.
It is very sacred. So the monument speaks to those who fought in the Civil War and the Spanish-American War. But what people don't realize is that park was much bigger than it is today. That park used to extend all the way down to South Street. It used to go from where it is all the way down to South Street. And then over time, obviously, you could see it was chopped up. So I
can see that.
And it was a training ground for those that fought in the Revolutionary War.
Yep.
So, I'm a veteran, so I take it personally when people say, well, this park doesn't need irrigation, doesn't need lights. We will always be a second-tier community to other communities like Portsmouth and Portland if we don't start really paying attention to the details. Details matter. Irrigation matters because, if you're visiting this community and you drive by this beautiful park that's well lit and it has a well-manicured lawn, they're going to say, wow, this community cares about details. People love Brewster Gardens.
Yeah.
Would people love Brewster Gardens if it wasn't irrigated and it was all dried up and burnt?
And not lit?
Would we be investing $17 million in Brewster Gardens if it looked like that?
Or decorated for Christmas?
Right. This is the little things that, people get tied up on. We didn't lose that vote by much. In fact, if 4 more people voted in favor of it. Or showed up, that would have been great. But if 4 more people voted in favor of the training green, it would have passed.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like everyone was against it.
No.
It was, I would say it was probably a 51% to 49% split as far as that. So it was very close. But I was sorry to see them lose, but I was more sorry that that town meeting thought that my remarks were disrespectful. And when you say that, that tells me that you're an immature town meeting member, you don't understand your role.
You know what I'm hearing from a number of other town meeting members is that they're going to town meeting and seeing town meeting members just opening their books. Now, this was a problem years ago, and it changed, and now it's back. And that's not good. We need a full-time government. I'm telling you that right now. That's one of my passions. You don't have to answer it, but we just need more. We need professional people.
You need folks that are engaged in the everyday business of town government, because when you only come together twice a year, I don't begrudge these folks. They're volunteering their own time to try to, be a part of town government, but it's really hard to only be a part of an organization 2 days a year, right? So no matter what that is,
it's convenient for them. It's easy.
But if I'm in the Air National Guard, which I am, and I only reported to the base 2 days of the entire year, and I'm expected to know everything what's going on in the Air Force Base, it's impossible. So to your point, you need to be engaged on a regular basis. And some town meeting members, they're more engaged than others, and maybe they're on certain boards and committees, so they stay engaged throughout the year. But there are some town meeting members that they just, like you said, pick up their book probably the night before.
It's shocking. It's happening again. But, you know, years ago, we had to show up. There wasn't TV.
Right.
You didn't watch it on TV. So we showed up, which I think you miss a lot if you don't show up to the meetings, because you get the nuance in the whole room.
Yep, you absolutely do.
And you get the feeling, and you can lobby also when you show up at those meetings.
That's right, yep.
As subtle as you can and do it that way. But are they watching? Who knows? I know the ones that do.
Right.
And they're the ones, the people who have been around for a long time.
Yeah, and you see the ones that are probably the most active are the ones who've been around a long time.
Yeah.
You know, because they're committed. If you've been a town meeting member for 7, 8, 9 years, that's a long time. You know we have some that have been probably town meeting members 20 or 30 years.
I was almost 20.
That's a commitment. I mean, I served under Governor Baker for 7 years on one of his councils, and 7 years is a long time. I'm like, wow. Like, I was ready when my term expired. I was ready to walk away. But, you know, so if you serve on these boards and committees for a long period of time, like, that's a huge commitment. So I appreciate that. But if you're going to serve on these boards and committees,
you have to be 100 in.
Right, you have to. You can't just walk into a meeting and open up your agenda at that.
You have to be 100% in. You have to know what's going on in the town. Now, a little bit about the Symes House. I understand it went out for RFP.
Yes.
And you might have a good one.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I can talk about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, as you know, I'll give a little bit of a history lesson. I'll only go back to 2022, though, on this building. So that's when the select board didn't renew the lease agreement with the nonprofit group that was managing the Symes House. So that was June of 22. And then, as you know, you served on the committee with myself and others, Betty Cavaco. This task force was appointed by the select board to explore various options for the future of this building.
It's so hard.
The long and short of it is a recommendation was made to the select board in December of 22. We issued an RFP. We put the building out to bid. No business, no nonprofit responded. No one was interested in acquiring this building or managing this building. So I spent the better part of the next 18 plus months trying to meet with various nonprofit organizations, trying to show them the building, gauge their interest of the building. And then we just went back out to bid a couple months ago. We've had one nonprofit organization who responded. They already have their
Situated.
campus on Manament Point Road. That's the
bird.
The bird sanctuary. I think is a Manament Science Conservatory.
Yeah.
I know they go by Manament Inc. They responded. And
I'm thrilled.
I think they'll be a really good fit. They're very community oriented. They want to expand their work. They definitely want to do more education for our youth groups.
They have a purpose.
Right, and so I think they'll be a really good fit. So hopefully we can work out an agreement with them. They're the only respondent, and certainly they would win the bid award, but we just want to work out a few details before we can officially execute a purchase and sale agreement with them. But
Yeah.
I think, to your point, I think they'd be great. And we went, David Gold and I, who's the chairman of the select board, we presented in front of the Manament Village Steering Committee last Thursday.
Oh, I love Alice.
Alice Baker's great.
Yeah.
And she served in the committee as well, as you know.
Yeah.
We reported through the steering committee of our intentions, and so we'll take it from there.
Great. And let us know right away when it happens.
You know, and I have to say that, because I was probably one of them when folks would say, we can't sell the building because we'll take a huge loss. And at first glance, you're like, oh yeah, we spent $3.8 million in this building and we're just going to sell it? But we gave $3 million to the Pilgrim Hall Museum. We gave $4 million to Red Brook and Grantham to build affordable housing. We gave $3 million to the Homeless
Spire.
Coalition,
Spire.
almost $2 million to Spire.
Spire.
So when I say we, the Community Preservation Committee, it's very common for them to spend money to preserve buildings for nonprofit organizations. So I look at it as like CPC preserved this building, they kept it intact, and this building will be here for the next 100 years again, which is what CPC wanted to come out of this. Does it matter who's managing it or who owns it? I don't think it matters.
Not to me.
Because, right, Management Inc., they'll care for the building as we wanted them to.
But they're a good entity.
Right.
You know, I was praying that somebody, you know, that really cared about something really big and that could make something into that building with all the rooms. You know, they will be educational.
Right, absolutely.
You know,
Yep.
easy to get to. So I think it's a perfect fit. And you'll pound out the
Look at the details.
Yeah.
And I want to say Lee Hartman, who's our planning director, who's retiring on December 5th, after I had been really spending a lot of time personal time, trying to figure out what organizations would be interested in this, and I had a couple that were interested, and Lee Hartman came to me and said, I have an idea. I just met with Management Inc. They want to expand their campus. I said they should call you, Derek, because Science House may be a good fit. So
Great.
Lots of credit to Lee Hartman for this one. He was able to bring this idea forward. And to your point, Karen, I think this agency will be a great caretaker of this building.
I do. I really do. And people like them. People will solicit what they have to sell, you know, as so to speak, what I'm saying. It'll be educational, and they'll have their own offices. And the apartments upstairs can still stay.
Yes, yep, they will still stay, yep.
Yeah.
So there's 2 affordable housing apartments, 1-bedroom units on the 3rd floor, and that's a source of income or revenue for whoever manages that property, you know, because they have tenants who live on that top floor, and they can that'll help offset some of the cost of the building.
That'll be great. Now, I've gone by the full sale. The name is changed to what? The name is changed to White Horse Beach something.
I don't think we have an official name. There's been a couple names. They were talking about, there used to be a bar there before Full Sail.
I used to go.
I forget the name of it. But they've
The
been
Full
talking
Sail.
Well, the Full Sail bar was there, but then before that, they said that the Full Sail was named something else.
Oh, I don't
Charlie
remember
Bletzer
that.
told me. So they've been touring around, like, do they name it after the first bar that was there or the Full Sail bar that was there? So that project is coming along. They've cleared the lot where the parking lot will be over on St. Charles Ave.
Yeah.
David Gould, who is taking the lead on this project. The DPW is right now there repairing the drainage over there because there's a lot of
I saw the
drainage
cat
problems.
there. Yeah.
Right. So we know that this project will be complete by next summer. So
Yeah.
you know, it's interesting because I lived on White Horse Road when the Full Sail
Really?
was on fire in 2016.
Oh, you lived in one of those?
I lived on White Horse Road that year in 2016.
Oh, wow.
It was a Saturday morning. I was the assistant town manager. I reached out to the town manager. I said, this is your opportunity to tear the building down because it just caught on fire. And she was like, nope, I don't want to get sued. But that would have been the chance.
Charlie did it.
Because you tear the building down when it poses a risk to public safety.
Absolutely.
And so you have the ability to do that. But then the building sat there from 2016 to we bought it in 2024. So another 8 years it sat there all charred and ruined. So
it ruined the beach. I mean, the look of it.
It looked terrible. Like, why do we want all these abandoned buildings adorning our beach property? So Charlie Bletzer, really, when he became select board member, he had a couple different goals. And that was one of them.
And that wasn't easy, but he did it.
Yep.
He did it.
He made the phone calls. He convinced the property owners to sell.
He had meetings. He was really great about it.
Yep.
Now, you got, thank you very much, lowered our energy rate. Electric.
Yeah, so the municipal aggregation program is, I wish we still had the electric rates from 2017.
Please.
So I don't know if I ever told you the story. So Patrick Farah, who we all know, was our energy manager up until 2023. And one of the programs that Patrick Farah pushed, and he led the effort, was the municipal aggregation program, which we still have today. And we didn't know a lot about it back in 2017. Only Patrick knew about it. And he was working with a company called Colonial Power. And he basically, what he did is he put out all of our residential electric users, so everyone who owns a home, he basically put out a bid. And what that did is it allowed a company called Constellation to bid on it. And we secured, back then, an electric rate. It was about 9 cents per kilowatt. Right now, our kilowatt percentage is like 15 cents per kilowatt. But we enjoyed 9 cents. So when I was the assistant town manager, the town manager was on vacation her last week. And Patrick came to me the day, it was my very last day. He's like, I need you to sign this. We just went out to bid. So I signed the aggregation plan for 9 cents per kilowatt. And that lasted 5 years. We enjoyed the lowest electric rates in the entire Commonwealth for 5 years because of Patrick Farah. So that, and I came back 5 years later, and we were just nearing the end of that contract. So we had to go out a couple of times. We went out back to bid. I think we're about 14 cents.
13, I thought I saw.
Per kilowatt. So
13 something.
Much higher than our 9 cents.
Yeah.
But if you had to do this on your own, as like a single residential homeowner.
No, I stuck with it.
No, if you had to, you'd probably be in the 16-cent range. So,
if not higher.
So this program does allow our residents to enjoy a lower electric rate than they would get in the open market on their own.
Well, don't say anything, but I blame Healy for that, too, the renewables.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around. And, I worked out in Western Mass for a short period of time when they were talking about, there was a big push to bring the Tennessee pipeline, natural gas, into over the hill towns and into Massachusetts. And that was defeated.
I would love natural gas.
The environmentalists defeated that.
Yeah.
And then when I was in Upton, there was another pipeline, which was a different name. I forget. There was a pipeline that wanted to go through Central Mass, and that was defeated. And so you can't sit here and complain about high electric rates when we're preventing natural gas from coming into Massachusetts. The only way one of the only ways to lower electric rates is through natural gas. Another way is through nuclear power, which, as you know, we don't have anymore.
They go crazy.
So the renewables are out there, but the renewables are never going to keep our electric rates low.
No,
it's never going to happen.
Never.
There's not enough of it.
Now the e-bikes. Big presentation last night about the rules and regs on that. I think it's got to be tightened up a little bit more, but it's on the right path.
Yep.
I think it's good.
Yeah, so I hope in the future we can follow the model that we have laid out for the electric bike regulation. So, the select board started talking about the significant risks that electric bikes pose to our community and electric scooters. We started having that conversation.
I think the scooters are worse.
Yeah, they're too fast and they're very silent. So we started having that conversation in late May, and then the select board made it a goal in August that we need to regulate electric bikes in our community. So Kate McKay, who's town council, who's amazing, she started looking at other regulations, not in Massachusetts, but in other states, because Massachusetts really does a poor job on regulating electric bikes. We presented, she presented a draft regulation 2 weeks ago. It gave the select board an opportunity to hear it for the first time, give feedback, and they wanted a second version, which Kate McKay met with State Rep Michelle Badger on Monday and Select Board Member Deb Iaquinto, because Rep. Badger was submitting state legislation at the same time. So we were able to compare notes. What did ours look like? What does hers look like? And we were able to kind of modify ours based upon what they had. And that was presented last night. So why I think this is such an important model to follow is because in the old days, we would just submit a regulation when the warrant closed, and then it becomes open for discussion. And in many ways, that's too late.
Yeah.
So this model is, we had a first reading a few weeks ago, we had a second reading last night, and then we'll have one probably final reading at the end of November before the warrant closes. This way, the document that goes to town meeting has been at least fully vetted by the select board, and there's been multiple public meetings and conversations about it.
It's the only way to go.
Right. But in order to do that, like, you can't try to run to the finish line and just put anything forward. You have to be thoughtful and knowing that, like, any bylaw or regulation you're going to craft for the first time, you got to give yourself at least 6 months.
Oh, please. When I would do my lobbying, I would start a year ahead.
Yeah, you're right.
Very subtle. And then as you gear up.
Yep.
But by that time, months ago, they got a taste of it, little by little.
Right.
Come in.
And that's been our problem in the past, that, whether it's the nuisance bylaw, we were asked to draft a bylaw, we draft a bylaw, we submit it as part of the warrant, and then it goes public, and then everyone starts getting excited, or they're like, oh, how come we haven't heard about this? So we've taken a couple lumps because of that. So now what we're trying to do is, before we do anything, before we put anything on the warrant, we want to have multiple conversations publicly, so that we can get it's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
It's just that with everything else going on, a lot of times that takes a back seat to everything else that's going on. We just don't have the staffing that can focus on this stuff.
I don't know how you do it. I really...
It's a lot, and there's not enough staffing to do it.
Oh yeah, you're short in planning, aren't you?
Planning is short. I mean, we have a number of vacancies in planning. We have a new director that's going to start, Lauren Lynn, who's going to be amazing. She's going to start on December 8th. Then we got to fill her position as deputy director. We have a conservation agent who's been out. Our town planner just retired about a month ago. So the planning department is going through a transition.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to sad to see Lee go. I mean, he was there in the beginning when I first came in.
Yeah, that's right. I call Lee my consigliere. He's my advisor. Every time when I needed to just talk to somebody, Lee has always been there, and I'm going to miss him for that.
He'd make a good town manager, but he never wanted it.
He would have been a great town manager. The problem with Lee, why he couldn't do it, is because he would say to me, he's like, I don't like doing the personnel stuff.
No, he didn't.
And the personnel stuff consumes half of our work week.
Give me a hand. We're done.
That was quick. Okay.
I told him tonight, you want a half hour?
You always say we can't do an hour.
Yeah, I know we can, but I felt
so
so bad for you last night. Go to bed at 1 a.m. Please, selectmen, don't do that again. I will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you so much for tuning in.
I tell you, we could talk.